The start of the war against bioterrorism began with the Umbrella Corporation. In Resident Evil 9, we are once again going to be exploring Raccoon City and the incident that shook the world. In this video, we're going to explore all ties that the Umbrella Corporation had with the US government. Then we're going to theorize how deep the US was involved in Umbrella's operations. Then finally, we're going to have to answer one question. If the information got out, would it really take America off the top of the global power? Let's dive into the connections that the US government has to Raccoon City.
This pandemic has spread faster than any disease in modern history.
Authorities are bracing for more rioting
There are
tonight.
fires burning. There are people being.
He was knocked unconscious.
CDC has quarantined the lower Midwestern region.
I was coming home from work, and I saw this woman in the road, and she bit me in the arm.
Unexplained killings that have sweeping across the city.
Angry mobs throughout the city, already killing. Authorities are bracing for more rioting
There are
tonight.
fires burning. There are people being.
He was knocked unconscious.
The best place to start is with a group called The Family. Resident Evil 6 was released in 2012. In that game, we discovered a new organization that has had its members inside of the US government, reaching and controlling all branches of power. This group was called The Family. At the center of it all, Derek Simmons, the United States National Security Advisor. The Family is a long-running organization that has existed before the American Revolution. Its original founders are the ancestors of Derek Simmons. For a long time, they have been manipulating humanity and influencing the course of events. Their goal is to maintain order in the world, and to them, that means keeping the United States of America the most powerful country and force on the planet. In the late 90s, once Derek Simmons became head of the organization, they shifted their focus to bioweapons. Once the T-Virus became loose in Raccoon City, Derek heavily pushed to destroy the city with a large-scale missile. He wanted this for two reasons. For one, to stop the threat of the zombie virus spreading as it was a national security threat, but more importantly, to cover America's involvement with Umbrella. After Raccoon was gone, the Family started development on their own bioweapons. I would like to read this section in their file verbatim to you. If the truth about the US government's connection to Umbrella's bioweapons program were to get out, it would destabilize the world and remove America from the top of that hierarchy of power. Derek sets into motion a plan that will launch a bioterrorist attack and assassinate the president, thus preserving the Family's designs on power and stability. After finding out President Adam was going to expose the United States' involvement with Raccoon City, Adam became an enemy to the Family. Now, I can go on and on about other plot points, but I want to keep this as short as possible. So towards the end of the game, while fighting Leon, you can see the Family abandon Simmons. They kept a watchful eye over all three of his transformations and made notes as the battle went on. After Resident Evil 6's events, the Family went into defense mode, trying to hold on to any power. Shortly after Derek's death, the Family chose a new leader and killed off any loose ends. They tried their best to protect their members, but Leon and the rest of the DSO, the Division of Security Operations, were hunting them down. Many members evaded capture thanks to advance warnings of other Family members who haven't been discovered yet. While the DSO and Leon were on their way to find and capture the Senator of Maryland, they went into a trap, leaving Leon as the sole survivor. That is it for the Family, but next we have to talk about William Birkin. William Birkin was a brilliant scientist, leading the charge on the T-Virus, but also developed his own G-Virus. Over time, the relationship between William and Umbrella grew very sour. William was in constant contact with the US military. He wanted to sell them the G-Virus and leave Umbrella out. The US government also had interest in William. Why would they need Umbrella if they had Birkin instead, and they attempted to get him out of Raccoon City? However, Umbrella wanted to keep the virus for themselves and caught wind of Birkin's betrayal and made arrangements to get the virus by any means necessary. Shooting and nearly killing Birkin, he injected himself with the G-virus. His counterattack would lead to rats eating the T-virus, which leaked into the public, turning civilians into zombies. Now, Capcom over the years have sprinkled lore about Umbrella and Raccoon City and showed various sources about the rot and conspiracy that goes on between the two groups. The next section comes from those guides. In the official Resident Evil 3 Nemesis guidebook, the development staff for the game answered some questions. On question 20, the interviewer asked, how deep is the connection between the United States and Umbrella, and why hasn't the United States publicly denounced Umbrella? The developer said, the United States is a prominent customer to Umbrella. If the United States attacked Umbrella publicly, the two are so connected that it would inherently show the dark side of the United States themselves. It would destroy both Umbrella and the US. The next source we have is the Resident Evil Archives, written by Resident Evil 3's screenwriter, and says that the United States government is a well-known buyer and colluder with Umbrella. He also reiterates the United States cannot go against Umbrella publicly and politically. And years later, once again in the Dark Side Chronicles handbook, it mentions that the United States was a big supporter of Umbrella, that they might have actually funded Umbrella, but the United States cannot go against them. These were some very deep cuts I had to research, and I'm so happy I did, and I appreciate a like on this video because it tells YouTube that this video is worth watching. Now that you know everything about the United States and Umbrella's connection, let's explore and theorize about the plot of Resident Evil 9. Welcome to the theory section of this video. So let's finally start theorizing and connecting the United States government to Resident Evil 9. Let's start with Resident Evil 9's official synopsis. It states Grace will be uncovering the truth about Raccoon City. This immediately connects to all the lore I just told you. The main reason why Raccoon became infected was because of William trying to give the G-virus to the US military, which caused Umbrella to attack first, leading to the rats eating and spreading the T-virus. If the game focuses on the infection, the United States government must be involved. However, if the game wants to focus on the missile attack that destroyed Raccoon, then the US government must also be mentioned as well. Since the main reason they blew up Raccoon was to cover up the United States involvement. Either way, if this game is about the mystery behind Raccoon City, the United States must be exposed. Remember the developer comments I showed you earlier. Even they said that the United States are so deeply connected to Umbrella that the United States can't even denounce them publicly. If the United States is involved, that means the remnants of the family organization are involved. After Resident Evil 6, the family did suffer a massive loss in power, but in a file I mentioned earlier, it said that they chose a new leader. The vice president was not outright stated to be the new leader. This organization may still have moles inside of them. So in the Resident Evil 9 trailer, her higher up chose her out of everybody to go to the spot where her mother died. For her to get there and have a figure already waiting for her there, calling her the Chosen One. Is it just a coincidence that her of all people, the Chosen One, was selected to go to the spot where her mother died, someone who actually took the vaccine to the T-virus, which her daughter obviously inherited, and this person is straight up calling her by her name, as if he knew she specifically was going to be there and he was there waiting. But how would he know that?
I know now that you're the one that I've been searching for. The special one. The chosen one. Miss Ashcroft.
It is more than possible that the family's new base of operations is in Raccoon City. This is why Resident Evil Outbreak's ending is so important, because it showed that in Raccoon City, testing is still being done there. So yes, I believe that the family and the United States government is going to be directly a part of the story in Resident Evil 9 and finally expose themselves to the world as people who colluded with Umbrella. But what exactly does that mean? You see, throughout this entire franchise, what I showed you earlier in Resident Evil 3's guidebook, a game that came out in the late 90s, to Leon in Resident Evil Infinite Darkness refusing to give Claire the information that would expose the United States, to Resident Evil 6 them bring up this plot point that if information of Umbrella in the United States were to get out, the United States would be removed as top of the hierarchy of power on a global scale, all countries. This final section in this theory is going to try to answer that question, and I believe it's because the United States will be seen as an enemy to everyone else in the world. Remember, Capcom is marketing this as 30 years of Resident Evil, that this is the game that is a celebration of the entire franchise. But if this secret, after 30 years, would finally get revealed, all countries may go against the United States. Because Raccoon City was the first major modern city to fall due to bioweapons. It was a global catastrophe, and the United States was involved in that. Not only were they involved, they supported and funded Umbrella. This could have massive repercussions for the United States, not just with the US citizens who will actively go against their own country, but globally this could be a huge problem. In the US, think about places like Terra Grigia, a huge city that was destroyed by another terrorist organization that was using the same bioweapons that originated from Umbrella. There are countless examples within all of the Resident Evil games of stories happening because of BOWs that Umbrella originally created, and this information was sold and shared around the world. How many Resident Evil games have normal zombies? How many Resident Evil games have hunter killers? How many Resident Evil games have lickers? You see where I'm going with this. Think about China, think about Europe, think about Africa. All of these places have different versions of BOWs, but all come back to Raccoon City and Umbrella. If Resident Evil 9 is going to be this 30-year celebration of the franchise, then this is how they do it. They expose the United States, working with Umbrella to create all of the BOWs that we have ever seen in this series, and that information being shared with all the countries we've ever set foot in all of the Resident Evil games. Of course, no country is going to align themselves with America. Of course, America is no longer going to be this hierarchy of power on a global scale that the family is trying so hard to protect. I really hope this theory is true because it would finally answer one of the biggest questions in the Resident Evil universe: what happens if Umbrella and the United States collusion became public? And I think that's really cool storytelling. Well, you made it to the end of the video. I want to say thank you so much for watching. This took a very long time to make. I think I'm going to calm down on the Resident Evil 9 theories. I just kind of want to focus on other Resident Evil topics, for a little bit, and then return to Resident Evil 9 theories eventually. I'm going to be out of here. Thank you guys and girls for listening. Deuces.